blocktrades.com. Today we have a new and special guest with us, Christopher Tyson. Chris is CEO of Nova Minerals, which can be traded as NVA on the Australian Stock Exchange, and it just got an OTC listing for U.S. investors as NVAAF. They have a very exciting project in Alaska, 2.5 million ounce resource that's open in all directions, same rocks as Fort Knox. They're currently drilling. Thank you, Chris, for being here with us today and for giving us an introduction to this exciting story that I'm just learning about that's drilling in Alaska.
Thanks for having us today, Jeff.
Chris, first off, you know, you're a native Alaskan, but you have a lot of experience all around the world for working for the majors. And now you've helped bring this Australian company to Alaska to develop this exciting project. So talk to us about your background and what you guys are working on here at Nova Minerals.
Right. Yes. So I'm an economic geologist, and I've worked in the technical and corporate side of things for a number of projects around North America, Australia, Asia. And so my specialty really is taking projects from the resource phase and then bringing those into production, into development, which is perfectly suited for what where we're situated here with Nova Minerals, because as you know, we have this exciting project, flagship really, in Alaska, and it's called the Estelle Gold Project. It's in the Tintina Gold Province in Alaska, which stretches from Western Australia all the way across into the Yukon, and it's really the location of the latest Alaskan gold rush. The Tintina Gold Province has numerous other projects that you've alluded to, namely Fort Knox, the recent Dublin Gulch project that just started production here last year. Also, Donlin, which is Nova Gold Barrick. So 10 million plus ounce projects are not uncommon here in our neighborhood. And that's where Estelle Gold Project is. We are the latest and greatest, we would argue, project that's being developed up here. So the Tintina Gold Province has been one of the hottest areas in the world for production and discoveries here in the last couple of decades. Now, what we're doing out there is we're really unlocking a district, right, Jeb? And to date, from our drilling last year, we went out there really to test a concept, and the results came back much greater than we even expected. We managed to define a 2.5 million ounce inferred resource, and based on that, we really geared up since last summer to start fast tracking this project towards production. So right now, as we speak, we have commenced our 2020 drilling program. We have one diamond rig drilling right now, and we plan to ramp up to 2 diamond rigs this year to drill up to 25,000 meters of diamond drilling. So the initial 2.5 million ounce resource we had out there was, like I said, we were testing a concept, and it's only drilled down to about 100 meters. So this year, the objective is to drill down to 500 meters, because the mineralization from the current drilling is still open at depth and on all directions, actually. So we'll be expanding the resource, increasing it significantly, as well as bringing the resources into the higher confidence level. So we'll be proving it up into the measured and indicated categories. Our target this year is to get the resource upgraded to the 5 to 7 million ounce range. And based on that work, the drilling that we're doing now, we'll be able to, we're planning mid-year release of a resource upgrade to report that to the market. And then based on that, we'll be starting to engage in some serious feasibility studies here and economic studies coming starting around year end. Because like I said, we're on the fast track of production. We're looking at one of the areas we're drilling in is what we call our starter pit. The Block B is what we call that. And this is where we've intersected in the past higher grade mineralization up to 1 ounce per ton. So that's what we're focused on initially, because that starter pit will be our fast track to start some kind of production by internally. We're looking at a schedule to start that some type of mining operation or decision to mine anyway by 2023. And so our project is very similar to, you mentioned Fort Knox. It's the exact same geology, similar style of mineralization. But what sets us apart from a lot of these other Tintina gold projects is that our recoveries. So our early preliminary test work has come back at 76% recovery in the leach tests. That's just an exceptional number. Our peers, they range in the 55 to 60% recovery range, and ours has come back at 76% recovery. To put that into perspective for you, Jeb, 76%, each percent, 2%, 3% has a huge impact on the bottom line, very sensitive to the profitability of an operation. So we're very excited about that. And this is just preliminary test work. So as we move forward with the more serious metallurgical studies, we'll be able to optimize our leach solutions and do a number of fine tuning to bring that number up. That number will only come up. And so that's very, very encouraging for our project.
And, for investors that have been following Alaska but not really aware of Nova Minerals, one that we've followed for many, many years is Donlin Creek, that's run by Nova Gold, and it's 50% held by Barrick, 50% Nova Gold, and it's run by that billionaire Tom Kaplan in New York. Everyone knows Nova Gold and how well it's done recently. And from my preliminary studies of this Nova Minerals, I mean, you're really at the ground floor here, and there could be some possibilities that this could be a similar similar size system, possibly.
Yes, that's right. So we have the same geology. These are intrusive related gold systems. So same geology. Donlin is a 40 million ounce project over there, and so absolutely we have the potential to actually surpass Donlin side. Now Donlin's valued at 10 billion, I think now. That deposit there. So that just shows you the potential upside of what we're doing here. So with the deposit I'm describing, which we're focused on right now, which is our Corbel deposit, we think this year we want to get to the 5 to 7 million ounce range. But just that deposit alone is a 10 million ounce deposit from what the geologists are telling us based on the technical fundamentals out there. But in addition to that, that's one project. That's one prospect on our 220 square kilometer claim group out there. And so that's just one out of 15 known other prospects that we have across the claims there. And these other prospects are at various stages of advancement. There's several that already have historical drilling there with some spectacular results as well. Like right down to the south is the RPM prospect, which has over 100 meters at a gram. And so what we're planning to do is, as I said initially, we're unlocking a district. We'll be going to those other prospects as well and developing a pipeline of projects to feed into our central location there at the Corbel deposit. It has the potential to be huge, really huge. 50 million ounces. We're not going home until we get 50 million ounces. We're not here to take Nova Minerals and sell it. We're here to grow it into a major mining company, and that's what we're doing. And so we're talking about 20, 30-year mine life, heap leach operation, right from the surface. What you get in these operations is that the CapEx and the operating expenditures when you start mining is very low. So quite low grade material becomes very economic, right? And so some of these mines are the most profitable in the world. Fort Knox, Dublin Gulch, these guys are producing $600 to $800 per ounce, all in sustaining costs. And so some of the most profitable mines in the world, these operations are, and that's what we're looking at. Really, these are behemoths in terms of the size of these deposits, and that's what we're sitting on and developing.
And when I'm dealing with a lot of U.S. mining investors and Canadian investors, they sometimes get confused only looking at the grade. And they never really ask about the geometry of the ore body, or how the mining, the engineering can be done. So if you could highlight to people like Fort Knox, it's only grading, it's low grade, but it's able to produce at an all-in sustaining cost of under 850 an ounce. So for those people that are the North American investors, can you explain about the grade versus the nature of the ore body?
Yes, absolutely. So, the old adage is grade is king. Not necessarily if you look at the entire package. And so at Fort Knox and at the Estelle Gold Project, you have a massive sea of mineralization, right? And so when you go to mine a pit from the surface, everything you're mining is basically ore. So that's why you have a very low strip ratio, less than 1-to-1. When you have some of these higher grade deposits, they tend to sit in the very narrow, higher grade vein structures. And so you can imagine if something's 5 meters thick, when you go and mine a pit, all the material on either side of that vein, which you have to mine out, is waste. And so your strip ratio is much higher. And so waste, of course, waste doesn't pay for you. And that's why when you look at, just for example, let's do a comparison. Fort Knox is mining at a 0.3 grams per ton at $800 an ounce is their cost. In comparison, also in the Tintina Belt is the Pogo mine. Now their average grade is 9 grams per ton. So 0.3 at Fort Knox versus 9 grams per ton at Pogo. But at Pogo, they're producing gold at $1,200 to $1,300 an ounce cost. And so you can see that a lot more goes into it than just grade. Grade is not necessarily king all the time. You have to take all of these other parameters into consideration. And so that's I hope that kind of gives you an understanding of what we're dealing with. So when we go and mine Estelle, we'll be because it's such a low. The other thing is because we're heap leaching, right? And it's basically you're just digging it up, putting it on a leach pad, and letting it rip, letting the gold be extracted. There's no complex crushing. There's no complex plants or mills to have to operate. And so the cost of mining is very cheap. And so as you can see, then the much lower grade material becomes very economic, right? And so that's what we're having here. There, I hope that makes that clear.
And yes, it does. It does make it much more clearer. And the Australians have recently come into Alaska, and Alaska, a lot of the revenue has been based on oil. Now oil prices have, gone down significantly, but gold prices are hitting record highs. Talk to us about the interest in Alaska from the Australian financial and the major mining companies recently over the past year or two, and maybe going forward, the support from Alaska to get these projects into development.
Right. So last year, we actually call it the Aussie invasion up here, which is that's a positive. So last year, over half of the expenditures in exploration and mining development in Alaska was done by Australian companies, and this year it's expected to be even more. And so Australians from down under have decided to come up top because they see the huge potential up here. It's the last frontier. That's our state motto up here. It's really the last frontier in terms of gold mining. Australian miners and explorers are some of the most capable in the world, and so we're very pleased to have that association up here in Alaska. And so, as you mentioned, Alaska is basically, in many ways, it's a one-trick pony with the oil business, and we know the oil markets currently are struggling, and so Alaska state revenues will be struggling. So we're working hand in hand with the Alaskan government and the Alaskan communities here to get this economy kickstarted again. And so this is very beneficial to what we're doing and very beneficial to the other resource projects. Alaska is a resource-based economy, and NOVA is going to do its part to get this economy going again for the benefit of Alaska and the people here. And so we have very, very wide support and very good support from the governor, Mike Dunleavy, and the Alaskan departments that we work with closely. One example of that is that we just reported that we're currently about to engage in an MOU with ADA, the Alaska Industrial Development and Export Authority, to build a road out to it's called the West Susitna Road Project. And watch the news flow. An MOU is imminent to build a road into the Estelle Mining District. And so that's one example of the way we're working hand in hand with the Alaska government to kickstart the economy here after with the recent issues and start moving Alaska forward. It's a resource economy, and we're going to play our part.
And I really suggest for investors to go to the website and to download novaminerals.com.au, download the latest technical presentation and the latest news, which highlights the starting of drilling. We were shut down a little while, right, for the COVID-19 situation, and now we're back running. Is that correct, Chris?
That's right. We had a brief hiatus with our drilling company just pulling out shortly for a few weeks, but now we're back at it again, moving forward. We haven't had that much disruption here locally. I mean, I kind of say in jest, we're naturally 6 miles apart as opposed to 6 feet apart in terms of distancing here in Alaska, and we work outdoors, we work remote, and the number of people that we have out there is not that great. So we naturally social distance and have a very easy time complying with the health department guidelines.
Chris Gertyson, CEO of Nova Minerals, which can be traded as NVA on the Australian Stock Exchange and as NVAAF on the OTC. They just got their OTC listing, so they're a new company here. You're pretty much the first to hear it here in the U.S., but it's well known in Australia and it's well known amongst the major mining companies. But for U.S. investors, it's 30 million market cap. But the potential here, forward-looking statements, of course. It's a 2.5 million ounce resource that's open in all direction, barely 2%, and management believes they could be onto something like another Donlin Creek or Fort Knox. So this is one to put on your radar and to start doing some research on. There is some research that's been out there from Australia. Barry Dawes has done a good report on it. And you can always go to novaminerals.com.au to get more information and contact Chris if you have any more questions or technical questions or financial questions on the company. They're very responsive to shareholders, and you can find them on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. Chris, thank you so much for being here with us today, for sharing your excitement about the Estelle project in Alaska and the Titina Gold Belt. Is there anything else that you'd like to say as a final statement before we conclude?
Yeah, I would just say thanks for having us today, Jeb. And as the world with the struggles in the world economy that are going on, as the world moves towards sound money again, I think the gold space is one of the few shining lights that we'll be having. And there's a new Alaska gold rush going on. Get in early. That would be my message to potential investors.